5 lanes had Jackson on the ends.
What's good, Jackson fam? It's your girl Neisha, and it's your girl Soleil. Today we're here to do our labor and delivery vlog on how I got my beautiful princess, who's spoiled in 2 months now. I'm sorry we haven't been here with you guys in a long while, but that's all finna change now. We done upped our camera quality. We done got some better lights. It's just a lot more changes that we did, and we're finna come hard for our channel. So today is just gonna be a postpartum slash labor and delivery story time, because I didn't actually get to record. Oh yeah, before I go any further, do not say, please no one comment in the comment section anything about the what is it called, the thumbnail. The thumbnail is me sitting in the hospital bed and I was burping her. That's how they taught me to burp her. You hold her neck and up under her hand, up under her arm, and burp like this. So you looking at yourself, mommy? You can see that? So don't no one say, oh, I know it looks like I probably got my hands around her neck or anything like that, but it's not. It's just my hands kind of slightly around her neck, not even really around her neck, and holding her forward and also patting her back like this. And my mom got that picture while we was on FaceTime, so it might not be that good of a picture, but that's the only picture that I got in the hospital. So for starters, I'm gonna just say how I was in labor from the 24th, which is Christmas Eve, the 25th, and the 26th is when I officially went to the hospital. So on the 24th, when I started feeling things that like sharp pains in my stomach and everything like that, I knew it had to be contractions. So I was just timing them. I had a timer app. I have my phone right here. Let's see if I still have the app on here. No, I actually don't have the app on here anymore. But it was a contraction timer, and they were at least 10 minutes apart all Christmas Eve and Christmas. And then on the 26th was going to be my final checkup with my high-risk doctor. Like, I've been having contractions for the past 2 days. Can y'all please check me and let me know how far, like how much I've dilated? So they checked me, and I believe I was either 2 or 3 centimeters. I'm not sure. I was either 2 or 3 centimeters. And so I was like, okay, I was asking them, like, do y'all think I'm gonna go into labor later today or whatever? They was like, since this your first child, we're not sure when you're going to labor, because people can be 2, I think it was 2 centimeters. People can be 2 centimeters for people can be 2 centimeters for weeks. So I'm like, oh man, like I'm telling them, like, okay, I've been contracting all for the past 2 days. So they was like, well, maybe you might go into labor later on tonight or tomorrow. And so I was just like waiting. Like, I went home on the 26th and I was just waiting. Like, I was timing my contractions. I couldn't get no sleep. The night of the 25th, I didn't get any sleep at all. I was up like every hour or so, like every hour or so I was soaking in the tub, not knowing that was making me dilating more. And the 26th also, when I came home from my doctor's appointment, I got home and I went and soaked inside some water, some warm water, because that was the only thing that was soothing it for me. I talked to my nurse, like the nurse line and everything like that, through my regular doctor. And they was just like, take some Tylenol. And I'm like, no, I don't want to take no Tylenol, because if I wanted to have her natural without any epidural or anything, I'm like, I need to feel all this, everything that's getting worked up to the point of me pushing her. So I didn't take no Tylenol or nothing. I was just dealing with it. And the way I was coping was soaking in some hot water. So the 26th, my contractions got closer, and I called the nurse line for my regular doctor, and I let them know, like, okay, my contractions is 4 or 5 minutes apart. And they was like, okay, well, we finna call the hospital and let them know to get a room ready for you. I'm like, no, don't tell them that yet. I'll probably be in within the next 4 or 5 hours, for the simple fact I don't want to be sitting at the hospital forever waiting. So once I got to the hospital, they checked me and I was 6 centimeters. So from my doctor's appointment at 11 a.m. to when I went to the hospital at 5 p.m. On the 26th, I went 6 centimeters, even though they told me later, maybe later tonight or the next day. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm finna have her tonight, but no, her birthday is December 27th 2018 at 2 p.m. I believe. Yeah, 2 p.m. So y'all can see the time gap between when I went to the hospital and I was 6 centimeters to when I actually had her. So they was like, your water still didn't break and everything like that. And she was like, either you can go, the nurse told me like, either you could go back home or your OBGYN said she can break your water. So I'm like, I'm not going back home. Like, I can't cope. Like, I'm dealing with it, but I'm not dealing with it. So I was like, no, I'm not going back home. Just tell her, yes, I want her to break my water. So she ended up, they was like, okay, well, we finna get your room ready for you for labor and delivery. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So probably 2 hours passed and I was finally put in my labor and delivery room. And they had to get my IV and everything started, everything like that. That's why it took 2 hours to get to my labor and delivery room. You sleepy, mommy? Yeah, she's sleeping. So 2 hours passed and it was because they was doing my IV and everything like that. And I finally went to my labor and delivery room and it was like, okay, your OBGYN, she's gonna be in here to bust your water. So I'm just like, I'm asking them like, I want to do everything natural and I was already dealing with everything good. And so it was just like, she's going to be in to bust your water or whatever. And I'm like, is it going to hurt? Like, because I mean, the water is what's around her. So I'm like, I don't know what I'm expecting to feel. So I'm just like, is it gonna hurt? The nurse that I had, she told me, yeah, it could be slightly painful and stuff like that. And it was already hurting because they was checking me to make sure I was dilated, meanwhile having contractions. Like, they had checked me, which is how I found out I was at 6 centimeters. So what happened? So I told him, like, okay, if it's gonna hurt, let me just get the epidural. By that point, I was over it because, mind you, I was in labor, active labor, which it means like me having contractions, active labor for 2 days already. So I'm just like, I was over. I'm like, just give me the epidural for the simple fact I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with the pain of them busting my water. So they were like, okay, well, yeah, we're just going to put it in now, because if you wait, say you want to wait, because I was like in the middle where I wanted to wait for them to tell them that I want the epidural and see if I can do it, or if I was just going to get it. So it's like, do you want us to put it in? Because if you say you want to wait, it's 1,000 people on this floor and it's scheduled for it. So I was just like, you know what, just tell them, yeah, I'm going to get it. So within an hour they came. I have a high tolerance for pain, so as I was bending over, Chris was in front of me, my nurse was in front of me, so they had to give me something numbing to numb my back before they put the epidural in. And it was like, that's the worst part that hurts, which is the medicine for that. So after she did that, I'm just like, oh, whatever. And so the anesthesia nurse, she went to try to put an epidural in, and I guess she put it in the wrong spot. So they had to give me another shot for numbing and move the epidural up some. So I was just like, you know, by that point, I already had a bad experience right then. Fast forward till my nurse getting ready to check me. She stuck her hand up to check me, and her head was like, the water, the bag, I don't know what it's called, I can't think of the name right now, it was like sitting right on her head. So right when she went up to check me, it just bust, like the water bust. So I didn't even have to wait for my doctor to do that, because my nurse did it on accident when trying to check me. So I'm like, oh, I didn't even feel it or whatever. She's like, yeah, I just made a stick and bust your water. I was like, oh, I didn't feel it. So she was like, oh, you're 8 centimeters or something like that. I don't remember how exactly it went. But all I know is my doctor, my OBGYN, told me that if this wasn't my first child, she knew I could have went natural, for the simple fact I did not get an epidural until I was 8 centimeters dilated already. When it finally got time for me to push, I was pushing. Like, I did so many different techniques of pushing. She went to sleep, y'all. And I was pushing for 3.5 hours. So they just like, they was like, we're proud of you. You tried so many different techniques. Like, you were so strong, but you have to get the C-section. Every time I was pushing, they seen her head. Like, she has a scar. Let me show y'all. She has a scar. If y'all see right here, that's her scar from her sitting like right on my pelvic bone. She was too big, which is why she wasn't coming out. So every time I was pushing, you seen her head just pop out just a little bit. Not so much to the point to where they could pull her out, but just a little bit. So they were just like, you have to have a C-section. And I was just like, I was just so scared. I was really in my head. I didn't tell Chris this till probably about like a week or two ago, that like I legit thought I was gonna die. Like, I was so scared. I thought I was gonna die. And I didn't, like, I don't know, I was just thinking the worst. Even though I know I was prayed up my whole entire pregnancy. My grandma passed her and she was praying for me. I know my mom was praying for me. It was so many people praying for me too. It's like, I don't even know why I let the devil get in my head and make me think like, oh, you're gonna die, or like make me think the worst. They put the medicine in for my C-section, and this is where the worst part happens. The worst part of my experience happens. So they put the medicine in or whatever, and it was like, okay, so instead of like you're not being able to feel your lower half, your whole body's gonna be numb. So I'm like, okay, I'm ready, I'm waiting on that. And you're also going to get cold. So I'm like, okay. So it was like, once they finished putting medicine in, they rubbed their hand across me. It was like, can you feel that? And I'm like, yeah. So they did that a couple more times. I'm like, yes, I can feel that. So it's like, oh no, they just tried to tell me like that was normal and okay for me to be feeling that, when I know that I wasn't supposed to be feeling that. If they told me I wasn't supposed to really feel anything. So they told Chris, you're not going to be able to come in yet until they get prepped, and her nurse is going to come back and get you once it is time. So they rolled me to the room, get me setting up everything, sterilizing everything, getting everything prepared for me to have the C-section. So like in my head, I'm just like, I'm in here with all these nurses. And not to offend anyone, but I'm black in here with all these white nurses. I was just so scared. Didn't have no family with me besides Chris, because we are in Texas and our family is in Florida. So it's just like, I was just so scared, and I'm just like, I was ready for him to come in the room, but it seemed like it took forever, at least 30 minutes. When they told him, oh, it's only gonna be like 15 minutes, that's the same thing that they told me that my procedure was going to take 15 minutes when it took at least 30 minutes to 45 minutes. It's so scary, me being in there by myself, and all these bright lights, a drape over in front of you, so you can't see what they're doing below you, and bright lights just on your face. And by that time I was shivering, like the medicine had kicked in just a little bit, and I was shivering. So Chris came in. Now it's time for me to start my C-section. So I didn't feel none of the cutting process, but when it was time for them like to do other stuff, like I legit felt I was finna die. I felt them pushing on my lungs. I felt everything, like it was just, and I was just saying ow, 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 and Chris was sitting next to me holding my hand, and I was just like, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I kept asking the other nurse that was above my head, like, how long is it going to take? Like, how long left? Like, what's going on? Because I can feel everything. So I told them, like, I feel everything that they're doing. And they was just like, the nurse is just like, give her some more medicine. I'm talking about now, give me some medicine. When I told y'all before I left my actual room that I can feel everything, why didn't y'all give me no medicine then? Instead of trying to, while I'm already on the table, they already trying to pull the baby out, push her out, and then pull her out. Well, why y'all didn't give me no medicine when I told y'all in the room? So they gave me more medicine, but I still felt everything. I was just like, ow, ow, and I was just praying. I was saying out through my mouth, but inside my head, I was praying. I was like, God, please keep me. Please keep me. Like, I really want to see my baby. I want to live to raise my baby. Like, I was legit thinking that I was going to die. They finally got her out and everything like that, and I was just so out of it to the point to where, when they got her out and I heard her, I don't remember if I heard her cry or what, but then they did bring her around. It's like, look at the baby, and I was like, oh, look at my baby. But then I just leaning my head back more. It's just like still praying and everything, just ready for the process to be over with. So as it seemed like it took forever for them to sew me up. Like it took forever, because I remember I was asking like, what's going on, like what's going on, what's going on, what's going on. Yeah, so they were gonna move me to another room, so Chris had to go get our stuff. But he said, I didn't even know that he said that they let him hold her for a little bit, then they had to take her so they could finish cleaning her up and everything like that. Once I got finished getting sewed up and everything, they moved me back to another bed and put me back to another room. So when I was in that room, like I feel so bad now, to the point like I felt so bad because I couldn't even hold my baby. Like I was dozing in and out of sleep. Like I don't know, like I was asleep for most of the time of me being in that room, and up for probably 30 minutes at the most. And like I only got to hold her for a second, and the nurses told Chris like, hey, watch her. Like I'm like, I know I was tired, I know I was like a little drowsy, but I knew when I had my baby in my hand that I was not finna drop her or anything like that. So when I first got her, the nurses like try to like do skin to skin, so she laid on my chest, and also I breastfed her a little bit. So me breastfeeding her and everything like that, throughout that time, once I got finished doing that, I gave her back to Chris, I believe. Yeah, I gave her back to Chris. And while I was in that recovery room, like it was a short period recovery room, like right after you get finished getting a C-section room, and like they were coming in and pushing on my stomach and looking and everything like that. And Chris, he was down like below my legs, and he said when it was pushing, it was blood coming out, but I couldn't even feel nothing because I was still completely numb. Like I couldn't feel that. I felt them pushing on my stomach, and that hurted so bad. That's just the end of the labor and delivery. That was the end of everything. Once I left that recovery room, we went to a regular recovery room, and I had her, and then that's when I was just in awe. Like I was looking at her and everything like that, noticed that she looked so much like Chris, and I'm just like, I was just in love with my baby, and I was just, you know, in a state of bliss, even though they were coming in there every single hour to push on my stomach to make sure everything was going right. And it was just, that was the most painfulest part. But yeah, other than that, we both were healthy. Everything was good. She was 7 pounds and ½ an ounce. And then you know how babies lose weight after they lose weight after you have them. So when she lost her weight, she was 6 pounds and 9 ounces. And they told me that was, we was still healthy. Everything was healthy. And that's it. I couldn't record for you guys, even though we said we was gonna record. I really wanted to record, but I couldn't record. Or Chris couldn't record because he was trying to make sure I was okay. Yeah, I think that's it. So I need for you guys to like our videos, subscribe to this channel.
I think you're truly something special.